YUNKJunk!
Listen, you jerk, South Park joining the Panderverse is probably the most important piece of media to come out in the last 10 years.
Listen, you jerk. I think it was pretty lazy, but it's cool because they told you about it.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Listen, You Jerk, the show where we talk about very specific things about movies, games, TV shows, and whatnot. Today, we've got kind of an interesting one. South Park joining the Panderverse is neither a episode of television, nor is it a movie. It's somewhere between. It's Paramount Plus struck a deal with the, South Park to make 6 exclusive movies for them as part of some contract, and I think this is the last, if not the second to last one. Other ones were the post-COVID 1 and 2, as well as the Streaming Wars 1 and 2, and now Panderverse. This is a whole new thing, and I loved it. Said a lot of things that needed to be said, and it's really nice to have my heroes, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, fire one right across the bow at Disney, as they're probably the only people with the balls to do it. Because a lot of people, I think there'll be a chain reaction from this, where comedians and other people in comedy who are afraid to say something because then they wouldn't get a job, we might have just opened the doors to being able to poke holes in this whole Disney issue that's been going on for at least 10 years. Let's start with this. I loved the episode. I thought it was incredibly important. Ozzy, thoughts?
I liked the message, or the messaging that you're talking about. I took the episode as a little bit lazy, but it was a very classic Stone and Parker humor in that they're doing it on purpose to prove their point. So
How was it lazy? Very interested.
Because, I mean, they called it lazy in terms of saying, you know, oh, we can't just blame everything on the multiverse. It's lazy writing.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard this joke made about Marvel or Disney or what have you a million times. This joke is played out already. I'm a fan of Marvel, and I agree with it, and I have agreed with it. But to make the joke like that in full episode form, it did not feel fresh to me. What was fresh was that they were self-aware about the jokes that they were making. I think that was the funny part.
Well, I think that message has been talked about, discussed, but we have never seen it in mainstream media. And that's kind of the big point why I think it's so important, is this is the first mainstream media full shot. Kathleen Kennedy, Bob Iger, this is your fucking fault. And someone in the mainstream to say that has the balls to say, I will never need a job from Disney. I don't care about Disney. Even though they own most media right now, I don't need it. And that's why it was so important for them to make this episode, because only they can. Only they can. They have the backing to do it. You know, these two guys, there were plans a while ago that were also still in progress that kind of got shut down a little bit during COVID. But these guys have been investing more into face technology and being able to do like AI-driven animation using real people than anybody else. These two are about to launch $1 billion studio, you know, and create the next ushering into media. So
effectively becoming another butt of their own joke from the
well, 100%, 100%. You know, these two are absolutely my heroes in any media. These are the most important people to me. So to see, this is why these guys are my heroes, is they've never been afraid. They weren't afraid when they had no money. They aren't afraid now that they're rich as can be, and all the way up through it. They've never been afraid. These are the guys who took on the Prophet Muhammad during the height of people getting killed for, you know, speaking out against, you know, for cartoons. And they went right at it. You know, these guys are my heroes, and they always have been. This was huge. This was huge because they named names.
I did find very funny. They did at the beginning in his dream, and you know, they did the whole like, oh, it's Kathleen Kennedy under my bed right now, and it's like, okay, haha, she's a monster. That was funny, but they kept going with her. They put her face on there. They put her live action face on there. Like, that was really funny. So like I said, I do enjoy what they were going for. I think that it wouldn't have been as impactful had they not thrown in that layer of like, hey, like, we get it, like, we're being hypocritical right now.
Yeah, I do like that. I wouldn't say hypocritical. I would say
I'm thinking more on the other plot line for the hypocriticalness.
Well, that was a statement on. See, to me, that was a statement against the writer's strike, and a statement on just us in general. Like, so this story is, there's two things going on. Basically, it kicks off with my favorite intro ever. Like, ever. is just Cartman is everyone is different. Like it just show starts and everyone is a diverse woman that is on the cast of South Park, which is an entirely white show with the exception of Token and his family, because even the guy who works at City Walk is actually white. They show in an episode.
Right.
And everyone there is diverse. And you think it's like, oh, I don't know what this is, but like I'm okay with it because I see everybody I know. And then out of nowhere, Cartman wakes up screaming like it's a bad dream and just says what people have been thinking for 10 years of like, we've all been replaced by diverse women. Why? You know, there's not even a reason. And this is what Trey Parker and Matt Stone writing is. It's right there. It's on the surface. Some people, you know, to your point, some people might call it lazy. I think it's their style of comedy, of kind of telegraphing exactly what's going on directly. We're not using subtlety. We're saying it out loud and in your face. Things like, everyone was just replaced. There was no need for them to be replaced. They're not different at all. They're just replaced. Why is Kathleen Kennedy doing this? You know, can you check for monsters on the bed? I mean, all of us have been feeling this for 10 years at this point. And the reason why they nail this messaging is because they're writers. You know, I'm sorry, I totally went off track. Anyway, that's one side of the plot is the Kathleen Kennedy thing, which we'll get into. The other side is Randy trying to show his kids how to get things done when they're broken. And his only way of doing that is to call a handyman.
Right.
And, you know, the result, the episode kind of goes on of like, you know, AI is the thing you should be worried about. And that you just need to be in a place of employment where AI will not affect your job, you know, and all of the guys who have like college degrees and stuff get bent out of shape. And then the handymen who, you know, you don't need a college degree or anything like that. They make sure to show it as like, this is like a super blue collar stereotype. They end up, you know, making all the money, and it gets really, really funny,
right,
in that regard.
And I honestly think I liked that storyline better than the Kathleen Kennedy one, because I think that was that when you said just a minute ago that part of their humor is that, like, you know, we're not sugarcoating things, it's in your face. I agree with that to an extent, but there's also a level of nuanced humor in most of their jokes episodes that elevates it. It's not just kind of like a pot shot where they're putting it into a cartoon and it's funny, haha, we're laughing. That nuance shows intelligence behind what they're doing. I saw that nuance in the Randy plot line, because like, and I want you to elaborate in a second a little bit more on the writer's strike analogy, but the way I took that was, one, a shot at the new generation for not knowing how to do shit. Obviously, that was the in your face one. I think the more nuanced one was, okay, when that older generation that's always talking their shit and is always saying like, oh, like this generation doesn't know how to do anything. They just click it on a computer. The nuance in that was a very prolonged joke of, okay, you don't know how to do shit either. Like, you know, sure, they have AI, they have YouTube. You've been calling a handyman your whole life. Like, you know, the hypocrisy in that, that to me was like, like they're ripping on everybody right now. Like that to me, I had to work for the joke. I don't feel like I had to work for the other half of the show.
Well, I mean, the handyman part of things, you know, certainly, like, I didn't think there was any actual, like, young people don't know how to do anything. I think it was clearly a straight shot at 40 somethings.
I think it was
40 to 60. I think
that,
like, I didn't get like, oh, there's a joke about young people not knowing. I thought that was all just Randy falling on his face to set the tone of, we're talking about adults here.
So the way I took that was a preface to what you're talking about, taking a shot at those 40-year-olds by taking a shot at the young kids in the same way they would. It's kind of like that illusionist type thing where it's like, hey, we're on the same team. No, we're not. Like, to me, it was originally a shot at the young kids, but then it was like, hey, guess what? You're hypocritical as shit. You don't know what you're talking about either.
Yeah, I didn't bump into that at all.
That's how I took it.
I just took it as that old people are hypocritical. Right. Old people being, you know, our generation and 20 years up, right? The reason it's about the writer's strike is because Cartman does not go to the therapist because he's concerned with AI. They just bring it up.
Right.
And basically what that is supposed to be is Cartman is going to say a very valid criticism of Disney and of most media companies of, if you pander to people on Twitter, your quality is going to be worse and worse and worse. And the therapist does not mention that at all. He says you don't have to be worried about that. You have to be worried about AI, which is what the head of the WGA was saying. This is Trey Parker and Matt Stone, as they did with the last writer's strike, saying, what if you just made good shit and stopped pandering? The things wouldn't be, you wouldn't have this problem to begin with. You know, the idea is the focus is on the wrong thing. If you're so focused on AI taking your job, then you're probably not one of the geniuses creating the stuff that AI can't replace yet.
Right.
You know, that's kind of the point. And they did this years ago with where Canada went on strike. It's a great episode where Canada goes on strike and nobody cares because Canada doesn't import. But Canada, again, in South Park fashion, the leader of Canada is not called like Canada United. It's called the WGA, which is the Writers Guild of America.
Right.
They just call it that. And then the end of the episode is the Canadian guy running it, throwing a party and saying, celebrate good time. And what they're celebrating is they got a bunch of like gift certificates to Bennigan's. and they're saying, we won the strike. But then Terrence and Phillip, are you familiar with it? Walk in and say, hey, wait a minute. Why are we celebrating this? If we had just kept working instead of going on strike, we would have made more money than in these Bennigan's gift certificates.
Right.
Which that's Matt and Trey.
Right.
Again, just being like, just do good stuff, make good stuff and be an artist for God's sake, instead of trying to, let's just make something that makes this demographic pay for stuff. That's the thing South Park's never done. The best thing about those two guys, and I can talk for days about them, is Trey Parker is trying to make Matt Stone laugh and Matt Stone is trying to make Trey Parker laugh. And that's it.
Right.
There's nothing else. If they think it's funny to each other, it goes in. Which to me is just the greatest thing because they actually still care about story and creating a solid tale. Any criticisms you want to make of this episode, it has a beginning, middle, and end.
For sure. They usually do.
And it like an arc. It's like an actual self-contained piece of media, which is why I think it belongs on this show, because it's self-contained.
Right.
You know, it doesn't require anything from the outside or anything going forward. And I wish a lot more media did this.
Yeah, and like I said, I didn't dislike it. I think part of my hesitation to kind of fawn over what they were going for is because they've done so much better, in my opinion, at least to my humor. But when it comes to what those two are capable of and what I saw in that Disney storyline, I felt they could have fleshed that out more. But again, I could be being stupid, and part of that nuance could be, hey, like, look, we can do it too. Like, you know, so that could be something too. I don't know. I think when I finished it, usually when I finish a South Park episode, I'm like, I got the whole thing. I'm like, wow, like that was hilarious. Like that was scorched earth. I didn't get that same kind of like, wow, by the end of it. I was just like, okay, like heard this argument before. So I don't know. It didn't hit with me like that, they usually do.
See, it should have, because the fact is, since Star Wars Episode 7, the world has been in chaos online because of stuff like this.
I am not disagreeing with the point that they're trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and again, I'm not, equipped to analyze this with any, certainty, but I think that in trying to make that nuanced joke, hey, we can do it too. Hey, like, okay, we're going to use your formula and like, make fun of it. I think that could have been done a little bit with a little bit more depth. I think it was just a little bit more too much like here's a volley into your side of the court, make of it what you will. I don't know. I really don't know how to describe it, to be honest with you. I wanted to watch it again right afterwards.
Yeah.
But I was kind of hustling around, but I'm interested to see if I watch it again and how much more I'll pick up. Because right now I'm on that fence of like, was it too nuanced where I missed it, or was it not nuanced enough? And I don't know if I know exactly where I landed.
Well, I don't think it was that nuanced. I think it was, the nuance of it is actually what you brought up, and I didn't even think about, is they did actually use multiverses to prove their point about, multiverses being.
Hey, we can be lazy writers too.
Exactly. So. But I don't think that's what they were doing. I think, because I don't think that was lazy. I think the way they constructed it was pretty smart. Of multi-universes, one being all diverse women in every little white kid's role. So I think they actually used it quite effectively. The big reasons why I think this work is all of their arguments had validation properly put and saw different sides. I mean, the crux of this episode is Cartman, who represents the whiny kid on
like
on the internet,
the Reddit incel,
who's saying like that.
I don't want a Black Little Mermaid, like that type of stuff.
He's representing that side of the argument. Kathleen Kennedy is representing the other side of the argument of, I have to do this to fight racism. So she's like, I'm doing this to fight racism, and that's why I am forcing all of this stuff into the properties that you love. And Cartman's point is, if you weren't forcing that into the things I loved and giving me quality entertainment, I wouldn't have to react. So essentially, that's the vicious cycle. So it is for all parts, but there's no question this is more of a shot at Disney, who hopefully they listen. And they already have been, actually. If you're watching some things behind the scenes, a lot of things are changing as far as we're not making a movie because it's important anymore. We're making a movie to make money. And the way to make money is to make something quality that audiences like.
Right. I also, and again, like I said, I am not disagreeing with the points they're making. Mm-hmm. But I think that, I don't want to phrase this. I think the part where Cartman was running around being, Kathleen Kennedy, where it was like, oh, like just make it a chicken and make it gay, like that was funny to me, because it was like, okay, like this, and to your point of it's money, it's no longer about like inclusivity, it's no longer about let's combat racism. It's okay, if we redo every single 90s and 2000s Disney movie, but put a Black girl in it instead, we've got a whole new audience, is accessible, and again, to the laziness point, I think that was a good parallel too. But
I would be fine with that if it's the exact same story with the exact same beats and no one mentions any sort of race or anything. There can't be an anti-patriarchy message shoved into these things. Like if you just remake it as it was, then you still have it. Because if you're not focusing on shoving that messaging in, you're focusing on making something good.
Right.
Which is kind of the point that they're trying to make. The best part in this episode that I think we can discuss, though, is Stan's reaction to it. So there's a part where they go and see PC Principal, who has no problem with the fact that Cartman's now a Black woman. That scene, to me, was the most important scene that there has been, like, in any sort of media in a very long time, because you have the guy sitting like this, just saying, I don't have a problem with that. You're clearly a racist if you have a problem with that. And Kyle says, no, wait a minute. That's not what we're saying. We're saying, isn't it a little weird that our little white child friend is now suddenly a Black woman? Can we not talk about how weird that is? Right after PC Principal says, I'm sure that you guys are just the kind of people that hate the fact that there was a woman in Indiana Jones and that there was a Black Spider-Man. And Stan does the most important thing.
He says, no, that was a well-written story. Like that was constructed to be that. Like that's what it was supposed to be.
That is what I am praying that Disney picks out of this, is that no, we like a wonderful story. And by the way, Sony was able to take that character and win an Oscar with their Spider-Man stuff, and make not enough money, in my opinion, but still, they won an Oscar. They made something great, So that was so important that Stan goes, wait, what are you talking about? That has an established storyline, characters, and development, and is a quality piece of entertainment. This is not that. That is so important for these people to hear, because it is like all the executives thought, oh, clearly we just got to put more diverse people in it and it'll be fine, and then put a message of how it's anti-patriarchy. And that's just not the truth. It's you can't be weird about it. Just don't make it weird. Make it a thing where like you create a new character that can stand on their own 2 feet and becomes an entity like Miles Morales. So to me, that was just so important, because it's a disconnect of PC activist executive type people who are obsessed with wokeness, just missing the point. We're going to go for a character like Miles Morales. We did. We came out in droves. We love him.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with the fact that it's a Black Spider-Man. That's not thinking right. Now, it'd be different if suddenly Peter Parker's Black.
Right.
Then it's like, okay, that's not the character that's
agree
been
with that.
established.
I think
Make a new thing. That's what they're trying to say.
That is the crux of I do agree with that, is and you know, from my perspective anyway, can't speak for everybody. The point of doing what Disney's been doing is to create inclusivity, is to be more accessible to different groups of people and different children. I mean, there's been videos on the internet of you know, young black girls being like, "Oh my God, like that's me," and like crying like, "Oh my God, she looks like me." Like, I understand that is impactful, but to just basically do the opposite of whitewashing and just slap a black girl's face on a white character, I think is more detrimental. If you think about it, I think new stories need to be written for these groups of people. If you want to reach them specifically, do all right. So like Coco, or like something like that. Like do a story that is based around that culture, and that's the driving force behind that, as opposed to just, okay. And I don't even, Little Mermaid's actually, like, I think the worst example of this being bad, because Little Mermaid's like the most like patriarchal, hetero, cis male, whatever of all of them.
It is.
I would say so. A woman changing
It's
her
about a girl.
changing her entire form just to fit in with a man. I do see that argument.
Yeah, but if you watch the movie, that's not the character is a heroine. She is. She fights Ursula at the end. She wins the battle.
She wins.
Well, actually, Eric kind of stabs her at the end with a boat.
Right.
But
So
seriously,
she doesn't even get the final blow in. If we're talking about you know, patriarchal stuff,
yeah,
Little Mermaid is top of the list for bad ones for that. So, but they've done it with plenty of other Disney movies. All right, so they've been doing it for a long time, actually. Cinderella with what's her name?
the evil stepmother.
No. They did not Monica.
Moesha?
No. But they did Cinderella, where it was literally the exact same story. They just threw a black girl in there, and that this is a while ago too. But
yeah,
like,
Whitney Houston was in that as the fairy godmother.
Yeah. I can't remember.
She was all coked up.
It was Brandy.
Brandy.
It was Brandy.
What? Who starred in Moesha?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. We got there.
But no, I do think that is the thing that does. I hope, like you said, Disney takes away from that. If I'm sure they've seen it by now.
Yeah, I mean, I
stop just, you know, plugging in new races into things and make something for the race that you're trying to, or the group of people that you are trying to talk to.
Or don't. Or don't. Just protagonist walks into room and meets antagonist. They fight. Conflict gets resolved. Antagonist wins. Protagonist goes, thinks about themselves, comes back, conquers antagonist, wins the day. That's what Trey and Matt are trying to say. Like, very, very much. They teach writing. There's an amazing clip of them teaching writing at NYU. And they literally lay it out just like that. There's no genders. There's no, nobody's trying to do anything. There's no social groups. There's no subtle messaging in there. It's just, here is how a fucking story works. And literally, you can just do it that way. And I'm so glad that this kind of addressed that. And they made Kathleen Kennedy basically say, yeah, I was doing it. I was succumbing to the pressures of Twitter. And they were.
Right.
But
nobody did that of their own free will.
The best thing, Kathleen Kennedy was a genius. She made a very bad call when it comes to Star Wars and did not stop making bad calls when it came to Star Wars. The only thing she did that was good was get the hell away from Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni so that they could make Mandalorian season 1. Of this new generation of Star Wars, that's it. You know, the one that she wasn't involved in was the win, because it's just a story. It's a person in a mask. Culture under there, doesn't matter. Whatever you want to be. You know what I mean? Like, well, he takes it up at one point.
I mean, the whole point of Mandalorians is they're their own race anyway.
Yeah, it's still an alien.
Right.
They're not humans. But she made some horrible decisions. But she also was involved and worked under and directly on teams that made Indiana Jones, that made Star Wars, that made Terminator, which is why when she's walking behind her, that is so cool, because that might be Gale Ann Hurd. I might be wrong. Anyway, she has been on teams that have made amazing things. But the fact that she was chosen to run Lucasfilm was a huge mistake when it comes to the quality of the product. You know, and the best thing about this episode is right off the bat, he says, Kathleen Kennedy's trying to put everyone in these movies, and Bob Iger's upset because the stock price is going down. And he's like, and that's true. You can't argue with the dollar. Stock price went down on all of these. Look at the brands too. Marvel is not Marvel of 10 years ago. Neither is Star Wars. Like all of this is crazy that and then Indiana Jones failed massively. We're
talking about Crystal Skull.
No, the one after that you don't even know about.
No, I know about it. I haven't seen it yet.
Either have I, and that's the problem.
Right. We
didn't see it because we're like, we're going to have Phoebe Ann Waller in her, and she's going to take over as Indiana Jones. No! Just don't make a new thing.
Bring back Shia LaBeouf.
There can be a new adventurer who is a lady. Like, go ahead. Just, the reason this is so important is because someone's finally saying, hey, you're losing money. A lot of it. People don't care about these stories anymore, and we used to care about them so much. This is clearly the thing that changed, is you prioritized social and messaging, and you decided you wanted to fight, racism and this thing. Fine, but the way you did it resulted in diminished quality of your products because you prioritized that over the story. Right. And so to have two of the guys that are some of the best storytellers, some of the only storytellers left, making things consistently that have beginning, middle, and end, not to be continued, say that was really, really important. And that's why it just meant everything to me that even the way they had the characters, Bob Iger was kind of getting it, when he's like, all right, yeah, you're right. We did pander. Kathleen Kennedy even. Yes, I pandered because I was feeling this. And Cartman representing the incel, which is bullshit. That's only a small portion. This episode was for people like me who have just been upset for a long time, and we've gotten bored with movies because you're not telling stories anymore.
Maybe you're an incel, Terry.
This whole time? But that's not true.
You heard it here first, YouTube.
Listen, you jerk. I'm not an incel. No, I just want good stuff. And you can make good stuff if you're focused on the fucking story and not on who's in it. It's like actors don't matter. I'm sorry, they don't. Writers matter, producers matter, directors matter. An actor is who's the human in front of the camera doing the thing that I thought up. It's just outside of, and I mean, especially now because movie stars are gone. That's over. I need a person talking and saying the lines that were written by the smart guy behind the desk that typed it up in his head. And I need the director to have the camera guys make it look as beautiful as possible. I just need you to stand here and say the fucking line. Like literally, honestly, the way they should make these movies, in my opinion, are 5 actors, each of a different ethnicity. Say the line. Next. Say the line. Next. Say the line. Next. Say the line. Cut it into 5 different movies. Exact same movie, exact same framing, exact same camera, but for multi-ethnicity. Done. Go see whichever one you want. Which Batman do you want? You want to see Chinese Batman? Knock yourself out. We shot it already.
That's a lot.
It actually, but from the production side of things, it's easy.
Right.
If the actor can hit their mark and say their fucking line, all we have to do is execute the shot again. And it's a robotic shot. It is that easy. Like, I don't know where we got into this.
That's not the world I want to live in.
It's the world you can't live in.
Don't give me 5 different racially converted movies, please, for the love of God, Disney. Do not do that.
It wouldn't cost that much more.
I don't care what it costs them. Don't give me 5 versions of the Lion King. Don't give me.
Wait, the Lion King.
don't
one's a lion, one's a tiger, one's a bear.
Exactly.
One's a house cat.
It's a very simple way to put that without getting canceled. I don't care about getting canceled.
Thank you.
If anyone on here is getting canceled, it's me.
I think it's over. I think this is the start of the end of
cancel
that
culture
era.
Is awful.
I think this is the start of the end of that era, though, especially in AI world. Yeah, it's not going to be Brad Pitt sitting there. It could be an AI that looks a lot like him that says lines perfectly, exactly how they were originally envisioned.
We're
going there.
I don't want to spin off into a different media. Maybe it's something we talk about in depth, but I will say this. Black Mirror did a fantastic job with their first episode of the new season, talking about like the pitfalls of like the potential for AI actors and like not having the real ones and licensing away your face and stuff.
Yep.
That if AI continues in that way into movies where we now have AI actors, the whole world's screwed.
Well, guess who owns the biggest AI studio in the world?
Disney. No? Huh.
Matt and Trey.
Well, okay, yeah, we did just talk about
That's
that.
the point. I think they're getting you ready. They've gone on record so many times saying we hate working with actors. The reason there wasn't a Basketball 2, they hated working with actors. Like it's just it's not, it doesn't work. Like they don't want the personalities and stuff. They just want to make good things and not have extra input from someone who just showed up like that day and was like, you know, it'd be a great idea. The one we thought of in a room for 6 months. God damn it, say the line.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's their attitude. You know, certainly there's something to be said in that. When they were still making comedies, a lot of that was improv, and which was hyper reliant on the actor. That's a different thing. But the reason that I think they've been so successful in animation is because nothing challenges their creative voice. It is exactly what they want it to be. And even like Comedy Central, even though they're out of business, but when they were a huge network, they knew, leave those guys alone.
Right.
Leave them alone. Just we need more of that. We need more of that. We cannot continue to have notes come down from studios saying, put a chick in it,
Make it gay.
and make it lame. So put a chick in it and make it lame. That's like the most important thing. That's a terrible note. Don't give that a note. And by the way, if you're so worried about AI and all this stuff, write something AI can't. I know that now you can say, hey, write this script in the style of this person. And that's great. And it will get to a point. But isn't creativity like challenging the great machine? You know, yes, they're going to make money on it. But guess what? Those aren't your ideas that it's making money on. That's computer generated ideas. So if you're that worried about AI, like one, you're not going to stop it.
No, that's over. That's
You can't
over. It's
stop
done.
it.
It's coming.
So you just got to accept that, you know, if you're a writer and you don't have your creative voice, like, yes, a lot of staff writers are probably going to go, but those showrunner writers aren't going to go, you know, and also a lot of you won't go. Like, it's not just suddenly going to be gone. We're going to just have to figure out a new mechanism of how do you make stuff without the big studio money. You know, that's the mission of an artist, is to figure out how do you make something in a vacuum. You know, you still have to go and do it. And remember, these guys started with pieces of cardboard paper that they cut out themselves, you know, and that's how they developed this thing. And they're also very computer forward thinkers. Like they are techies. So they are kind of embracing this whole thing. They wrote an episode using ChatGPT.
They did. Which that is why fundamentally I way more enjoyed that plot line than I did the Disney one, because I got, and maybe it was just my brain not knowing enough about the media industry, film industry, whatever, to pick up on enough stuff. But the AI line of questioning or whatever you want to call it, that one I got because it was like you said, they've made an episode with ChatGPT. It's like, we use this stuff and we're telling you it's going to take over, and no, you like. They basically made the argument that's been getting made for the last 5, 6, 7 years now, is screw college, go to trade school. Like they basically made that argument throughout the entire episode.
Completely.
Like, yeah.
Completely. And I loved it. You know,
Me too.
It was awesome.
I wish,
but I also,
looking back, I would have done trade school.
What I like more is the reaction of the adults. Okay, now they're mad at college. It's college's fault.
Right.
No,
Right.
It's your fault.
Right.
You did this. You're not equipped.
Right.
That's the point for everybody that they're trying to make, is it just takes some fucking ownership of your life. It's your fault when things go wrong.
The most antithetical argument I've ever heard is, the internet ruined everything. The internet made people not need to learn anything. No one knows how to do anything. The internet was created to be basically a giant knowledge library. The original creation of that was designed to make school irrelevant. It was designed so that if I don't know how to fix the oven door, right? Like, I can go on YouTube and I can watch a step-by-step thing on it. I would argue that people these days whether we are aware of it or not, are more equipped. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to fix a garbage disposal and clear it out and get it separated from the sink. I need to learn how to do that. Guess what I'm going to do when I go home? I'm going to teach myself how to do this.
Yeah.
And then I learned something.
Yeah,
The internet didn't take that from me.
The internet didn't stop doers from being doers and not doers from being not doers.
It filtered them out.
Now we just know.
Yeah, now we know who does what.
If for whatever reason you're not doing the thing, but the information to do the thing is online, you just didn't do it. It's just on you, man.
Right.
And I think that's also kind of like
that was
what they're saying. It's like
I loved that point. Maybe it's, you know what it might be? Maybe I agree more with the point that they're making.
That makes sense.
Maybe because I will say there are a couple of things that I balked at on the Disney one where it's like I have, and we're not going to get into it on the Listen You Jerk podcast, but I there were a couple of things that I'm like I don't know, because like I do think that we should be making things more accessible to everyone as opposed to just the old white stories.
Yeah, but the Miles Morales argument,
I agree with, and again that was a correct argument in the show, but I think maybe the reason that I didn't find that half of the short or the special as funny as the other one because I didn't agree with it as much, maybe because I think certain jokes maybe didn't land on me the same because
you like Marvel though, just like I do.
Yeah, but
don't
like
you feel
Marvel's
betrayed?
Going. I don't like where they're going.
Neither do I. That's the point of the thing. It's like, what are you doing?
The Marvel part of it, 1000% agree.
This is scary. If the Marvel's tanks, we're done with comic books for a while.
I'll just go back to reading them.
Well, yeah, but as far as like we had our moment in the sun and we fucking squandered it.
I mean,
we had it.
20 plus years is not squandering, I wouldn't say.
You have 19 great movies in a 20 movie run.
Right.
Obviously, Captain Marvel's got to go. But everything else is fantastic.
Listen, you jerk.
Look, I mean, that is one of the worst edited movies I've ever seen.
Editing, sure.
Yeah, that is just foolish the way they did that. And it's about nothing. And we're going to find out. If nobody goes to see this sequel, that means all of the Disney Plus shows, that was a mistake.
I will stick by what I have said about the newest Marvel stuff. It is a combination of half-assed and not for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think
because
they wanted to spit out all these different things to try to pull in different categories of people, women, different races, people that normally, children, people that weren't already watching it. You lost me. You left me behind. That's how I felt about that.
That's the point of the episode.
Yeah.
Now you are incel.
Oh, I'm no incel.
You are now because you just agreed with Gartman's side.
I'm an outcel.
Outcel.
I'm the opposite of an incel.
Outwardly celibate instead of inwardly.
Oh.
Or no. What is it? Involuntarily
celibate.
You're out voluntarily.
Yes.
Look, I mean that's what it is. You had it. You fucking had it.
Right.
You could have ended it. That might have been the smartest move. Is
they just left out.
Just go away for 5 years. Just go away, because we would be
and then go write me 17 movies on Kang and Jonathan Majors. Please stop hitting people. You're doing such a good job. Just stop hitting people.
Well, there's a perfect example. All they did was choose a good actor to play Kang. He happened to be of another race, and it doesn't matter because Kang's blue.
I don't know if this is going to sound bad or not, but in fantastical media stuff, cartoons, blue is like the weird. To me anyway. Maybe I'm misreading it. Maybe my privilege is showing, but blue to like Skeeter and Doug.
I thought that's what you were gonna
like.
say.
No, like just honestly though, like blue kind of is like a way to refer to a black person, but not refer to a black person. It's like, here's just like some other color race. Doesn't have to be, don't name one, just that's what it is. So I don't know. Blue, I always kind of.
I mean, I could speak for Jim Jenkins on that one, who created Doug. That was very, very intentionally, nobody is anything. Everyone is just a color, because everyone in that show is a different color.
True.
And so I know for a fact that wasn't supposed to be targeted that way.
I'm certain it wasn't intentionally, especially how long ago that was created. I don't think that was a thought process.
No, it was being culturally sensitive was definitely
right.
He wanted to make sure everybody's different, and that's okay.
The masses are going to find a way to look at
it. But no, Kang is not human. not humanoid. It didn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter. That's the right way of doing it. They've gotten some of the casting right, but the Marvels, this thing is gonna. Monica Rambeau does not need to be there, and she does not need to be cheering on.
You don't like Photon?
No.
Oh, I like Photon as a character.
No.
I mean, they're gonna butcher her.
No, but just being like, you're bigger and badder, and you could do this because you're the fastest in the world, Carol.
I haven't even seen the trailer, dude. I'm gonna be honest with you.
It's this. I mean, we're about to see it. The opening of the Panderverse was really important because it showed that stock thing tumble. And the fact is, all of the hitters, the heavy hitters, Marvel, Star Wars, and Pixar, have lost a shitload of money in the last 10 years.
I don't get that.
As quality
Pixar, I feel like,
diminishes.
it's been killing it. Like I've been
been going to Disney Plus, dude.
like Moana. I guess that's true. You're not raking in the theaters.
Moana's just Disney. Moana's not Pixar.
I thought Pixar was all those like kind of 3D Unreal Engine looking.
No, there's the Disney 3D animation, and then there's Pixar. So Pixar,
didn't they just
Pixar was Coco.
Coco, fantastic. Didn't they just do the Elementals or whatever? Oh,
Tanked horribly. What's that whole movie about? Oh man, they're fire and we're water. We can't be together, but we love each other, man. So let's be together.
It's educational for kids.
Educational that if you get around the wrong person, you're gonna fucking die, because fire will kill water, and water will kill fire.
And if they're pitted against each other,
they were. The dad is an angry fireball,
right? But then
and hates that.
Right, but then by the end,
water boyfriend, and then if she goes over to the water guy's house, she's dead.
You read that much differently than I did.
Pixar basically said, "Don't mix."
What's the Pixar
That's
movie?
terrible.
They said
That's
they
terrible.
They said you shouldn't mix, and they're like, wait, there's really no reason not to. We can all work together.
And then they all die in the real world in science.
Yeah, well, Disney. Someone's got to die.
Remember? Do you remember the Cars 3 trailer that came out a while ago? Cars 3 trailer looked like they were going to kill off Lightning McQueen.
I would have watched it.
It was awesome. It's like a black and white trailer of like everything must end, and it's like black and white, and you see him like wiping out. And I remember when it happened, we were all like, "What's happening? Is Pixar doing something amazing?
Pixar's killing.
Are they teaching
Lightning
kids
McQueen?
about death?" And then they did with Coco.
They did, dude. That's what I'm saying. Like they make
Coco's great.
I love the Pixar movies. The what's the one where
that's a problem.
Well, I mean, I watched.
What's the one that is a problem?
I watched it with children. Like I was babysitting.
Oh,
but it was like a 2-year-old. It was someone I was seeing back in the day. But what's the one where it's like you have all the different emotions are in like their head, and it's like,
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
I love that one too.
It's called "What's Going On in This Little Girl's Head."
It's not what it's called.
No, it's not. Something about emotions. We're gonna figure this out.
I mean, I'm gonna Google it.
Inside Out.
Yep, that's a great one.
Living La Vida Loca. Upside, inside out. Ricky Martin's gay.
Ricky Martin is gay.
I'm glad.
Not a chicken though.
Right. Well,
And
I mean,
he's
I
kinda
just,
lame.
look, to kind of wrap this episode up, I'm so happy that someone actually said it at that level and took a shot at the CEO and at the person making most of the story decisions and approving this stuff and allowing to go through and trying to craft what they think the world should be instead of giving it quality entertainment where you don't involve the audience. The best art ever made came from the artist, not from the people watching. Audiences don't know what they want until you show it to them.
Right.
Which is why our numbers are so low.
Yeah.
Because this is what they want.
Listen, you jerks. This is what you want. We gotta figure
this is what you asked for.
Yeah.
You asked for regular people to be on cameras, which I hate. I don't want to see normies out there on my TV. Everyone should be stunning, amazing, and better than I could ever be. And I should feel shameful about who I am as a person every time I turn on the TV, because that's what I want.
And yet here we are in front of cameras.
Yeah.
Couple jamokes.
You did this. You all did this.
True.
Look, listen, you jerk. Listen, you jerk. Trey Parker and Matt Stone are the best writers going right now. They are absolutely my heroes. What if they're saying something? Listen, and clearly they've got a point here because I'm not interested in the things I was interested in because it kind of rejected us and went a different way. And I don't mean that like an incel. I mean, it's funny to joke around about that. But what I mean is I liked good stories. I don't care what person, if they want to be the protagonist of a film and the antagonist is whatever they want to be as well, I'm fine with that. But give me a story that follows classic principles of stories. Give us quality listen, you jerk. Give us quality entertainment back. Just make good stories. Don't make things that a robot could make. Make something worth seeing and fuck the audience. Just make it with your own brain.
Listen, you jerk. AI is coming. It will take over. Be smarter than the computer. That's all I can say. Stone and Parker definitely said that better than I ever could. Be better than the computer. Make something of value.
Or better yet, use the computer to make something even better than you could by yourself. Embrace the technology. It's coming anyway, and it doesn't care. Goodbye, Kathleen Kennedy.
YUNKJunk!